Hi, my name is Father Joshua Lichter. I am a Christian priest in the Anglican Church of North America. I shepherd a very small congregation called Incarnation in Roseville, California. And one of many things that we do as a congregation is we regularly pray for the needs of people in our community, but also the needs of people all around the world. And one of those people that we pray for on a regular basis is Bapuji Singh Surat Khalsa. I'm often asked by people, why would you, as a Christian congregation, regularly pray for a Sikh man and his plight in India? There's all kinds of reasons for that, but the simplest, most basic reason is this. In our holy book, the Bible, the very first chapter, Genesis, tells about the creation of the cosmos. And the greatest thing that God created in the cosmos was humanity. The way that Genesis describes this creation is amazing. It says that when God created humanity, he made humanity in his own image, and he thought that it was very good. This was the climax of God's creative act in the universe. We believe many things in terms of what it means that humanity was made in the image of God. But one of the things that that means is that all of humanity, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what your background, no matter what your financial background, no matter what your geography is, no matter what your social status is, all of humanity shares this common image-bearing status with their Creator. Therefore, all of humanity is entitled to certain rights and a certain amount of dignity. And as Christians, we believe it's important that when we see other people, regardless of their belief, regardless of their background, the first thing we need to see in those people is indeed the image of God. Therefore, whenever anyone who bears the image of God is oppressed in any way whatsoever, that's something we need to take seriously and we need to be concerned about. And right now, in India, many people are being oppressed. The image of God in many people is being oppressed in India by a government that is legally allowing for people who do not hold to the majority view of the government, the majority religious view of the government, in fact, to be oppressed. It doesn't matter if they're Sikh, or if they're Christian, or if they're Muslim, or if they're Buddhist. It doesn't matter what their background is. They are being oppressed because they believe differently. Personally, I have been a leader in the Christian community for over 10 years. And in that time, I have had lots of interaction with fellow Christians who have spent time in India and have experienced firsthand the brutality and the persecution that the Indian government is carrying out on any type of minority group in India. And it is atrocious. The stories I've heard are horrible. I've heard about entire Christian communities being vandalized and burned. I've heard about people who are attacked and assaulted, and the government allows it to happen without any kind of reprieve. I have heard of people outside of the Christian community. I've found out as I've done research that members of the Sikh community have been killed en masse by the government. In 1984, there was an atrocious genocide of the Sikh people that occurred in India with the full sanctioning of the Indian government. And to this day, anyone who speaks out against that runs the risk of being arrested and thrown into prison. That is a travesty. What happens to one minority community in India affects all of the minority communities in India. What happens to the Sikh community affects the Christian community in India. What happens to the Christian community affects the Muslim community in India. What happens to any minority community in India affects the rest of the minority communities in India. It's important that they stand in solidarity with one another, and that is what Bapu is doing right now through this hunger strike. Other people in his plight, other people in his situation have taken up arms against their oppressors. One thing I admire about Bapu and his plight is that he doesn't do that. His faith, his religious tradition, teaches him that even the people who are oppressing him are his brothers. And so he can't lash out in anger at them. So what he does instead is he takes all the anger, all the hatred, all that injustice, and he takes it upon himself through a hunger strike. It's very humbling for me as a Christian to hear him doing that. It sounds like the kind of thing that Jesus would encourage his followers to do as well. And so, as a community here, in our own little comfortable area, across the ocean, in Roseville, California, we stand in solidarity with Bapu and with his plight right now. Because what affects him not only affects Christians and others throughout India, it affects people throughout the world. It's not just an injustice that's being done against Sikhs or against Christians. More importantly, it's an injustice that's being done against human beings who are made in the image of God. To add to that, Bapu is from California. He is a resident of California. He is a United States citizen. These atrocities that are being done against him in India are being done against a United States citizen. And yet most people in America have no idea that this is happening. That needs to change. Several months ago, shortly after we began to be aware of Bapuji's plight and started to pray for him as a community, I had the opportunity to attend a town hall meeting that was led by our Congressman, McClintock. And at that meeting, I was able to explain to him the plight not just of the Sikh community in India, but also of the Christian community in India as well. And he listened. He took what I had to say seriously, and he took action. Also present at that meeting was Bapuji's daughter, and I got a chance to meet with her and talk to her, and that really made this even more personal for me. Because when she found out that we had been praying for her father, she was humbled, and she thanked me so much, and she said that she knew that people were praying for her father. She could tell that those prayers were effective, and she was so thankful that we had done that for him. I know she was humbled in telling that to me, but I was very humbled to hear that, because I realized the world is a small place, and I realized the impact that simple actions can have on the global community. As Christians, it's important that we speak out against the injustices that we see in our society. So I'd like to close with a little bit of a call to action. If you're watching this, I think that you would agree with me that what happens to one person in a context like this impacts a majority of people. We need to speak out against these injustices. We need people to be made aware of what is happening in India right now with the full sanctioning of the Indian government. It needs to stop. It needs to change. And the more that the leaders in India know that we know, the more likely they're going to be to change. I urge you, please take a few moments to visit the website ofmi.org. Educate yourself into what's happening in India right now, and then contact your representatives. Let them know that you know what's going on. Let them know that you want them to take action. So wherever you are on your spiritual journeys, whatever it is that you believe, I ask you to stand in solidarity with Bapuji Singh Surat Khalsa and with all the other persecuted minorities in India. I ask you to help give them a voice. Let their cause be known. And in so doing, you too can be an agent that God will use to bring about great change in this world and to honor His image in all of humanity. Thank you.